How's married life treating you guys?
Oh my God, it is so much fun. You know, marrying your best mate is just, it's the best. It's the best.
Yeah, people always say you should marry your best friend.
It's true. It's the best advice, yeah. And we feel like we're on like a play date forever.
Nicola's father is Nelson Peltz. You can even see Brooklyn in a picture here in the Google search. And Nicola and Elon Musk. He's worth $1.6 billion.
Nicola Peltz is reportedly getting $1 million a month from her dad, Nelson Peltz, which sounds like a ton of money, but remember, her dad is a billionaire. So how much does $1 million a month even mean to him? And how did he get so rich that even the Beckhams look budget in comparison?
For years, the Beckham family looked like the definition of perfection. With flawless smiles, luxury events, and that calm, nothing can touch us vibe. But now that polished image is cracking, and the drama around them is spilling out in ways nobody expected. Right at the center of all this tension is Brooklyn Beckham, his wife Nicola Peltz, and her billionaire father Nelson Peltz, a man who, according to people close to the situation, never believed Brooklyn was the right fit for his daughter.
This is my biggest fear.
Well, I know a funny one. He hates square plates and big
Oh my gosh. I'm not scared of them, but they more like just piss me off. There's one animal that I just don't like.
Oh, I don't know that. Snakes?
I love snakes.
I don't know an animal you like.
Don't?
What was this? Was this a hint?
It's that big.
A rat?
I don't mind that.
A hamster?
No, I'm not scared of a hamster.
An armadillo? Can say
A what?
no?
An armadillo.
No, you went like this. No, they're kind of big, right?
I hate cockroaches.
Oh, what? The cockroach is not this big.
Some are.
This big.
Yes.
Quiet tension that once stayed behind closed doors has now turned into a major family showdown that keeps getting more complicated. We're talking legal letters being exchanged, public statements carrying heavy meaning, and a silence that replaced what used to be a close bond. Some say the damage might be beyond repair. Lines have been crossed, trust has been shaken, and everyone seems done pretending that things are fine. The big question people keep asking is simple, but intense.
Expanding the family.
I've always wanted to be a young dad. It's like been my dream. I could have like 10, but her body, whatever, it's her decision.
What do you make of that number?
That is really sweet. I have 7 siblings. So I think he loves being with my family. He has like built-in boy best friends now. So I think he really loves that. But yeah, we really do want a big family. We want to have some of our own kids, and then we really want to adopt kids too. So.
Has Brooklyn finally stepped into his own independence, or has he been pulled fully into the Peltz family's powerful influence? Because behind those pretty Instagram photos and emotional love notes, there's a serious tug-of-war happening for control, and the signs have been there for a while. Then came the moment that really shocked the public. Brooklyn decided to take his issues to social media, posting a long emotional message aimed directly at David and Victoria Beckham. He accused them of twisting the truth, choosing their brand over their own family, and disrespecting Nicola. It wasn't a mild disagreement. It was a clear, unfiltered break, and he left no room for interpretation. Brooklyn followed up by making it clear he was standing beside Nicola in everything, and any possibility of reconciling with his parents was no longer on the table. What stunned people wasn't only what he said, but how final it sounded. There was no hint of working things out, no soft pause, just a clean split that left fans silent. But the part that makes this story even more intense is what insiders claim happened before Brooklyn went public. According to people close to the Beckhams, his post didn't come from nowhere. Something significant happened behind the scenes. Reportedly, David and Victoria Beckham sent their son a private letter delivered directly to him, not through the media or mutual friends. Whatever was written in that letter seems to have been the tipping point that set everything in motion. Why did everything spiral this fast? Because by that point, communication between Brooklyn and his parents had completely broken down. And then came the twist nobody saw coming. Brooklyn had allegedly sent David and Victoria a cease and desist letter, telling them to stop mentioning him publicly and to route every single conversation through lawyers. What used to be a family argument had shifted into an actual legal dispute. And once that line was crossed, nothing felt normal anymore. That legal move shook everyone around the Beckham circle, but the paperwork itself wasn't the part that hit the hardest. What truly rattled people close to the family was the suspicion behind it. According to insiders, David and Victoria were almost certain that this decision didn't come from Brooklyn alone. They believed someone else had a strong influence, especially Nicola and her powerhouse family, with many pointing straight to her billionaire father, Nelson Peltz. And the letter the Beckham sent back wasn't cold or defensive. Insiders describe it as emotional, honest, and deeply personal. No threats, no pressure, no legal aggression. Just two parents asking their son for one thing they needed more than anything else: reassurance that he was safe and making decisions with a clear mind. But instead of easing tension, that heartfelt approach seemed to push things further apart. Only days later, Brooklyn went public with another intense message, making it clear he wasn't stepping back. He said he was finally finding his voice after years of staying quiet, and he directly pushed back against rumors that Nicola had been running the show. The post was bold, messy, and the type of statement the internet couldn't look away from. Brooklyn claimed the story was twisted from the start. He insisted Nicola wasn't pulling strings and that the real control came from his own parents, saying he had spent years living under their expectations and wasn't willing to return to that life. But here's where things start to split, depending on who you ask. While Brooklyn says he is finally free and calling his own shots, his actions paint a different picture. Since the fallout, his entire world seems centered around the Peltz family. He lives in their orbit, moves in their social circles, and reportedly only communicates with his parents through intermediaries. That's why more and more people are whispering that this might not just be a family disagreement anymore. It might be something deeper, something shifting in ways that go far beyond a simple feud. At this point, it's not just family tension anymore. It's a full-on power struggle. And the moment everyone keeps circling back to is the wedding, specifically the now infamous first dance. Brooklyn has claimed that during what was supposed to be his big romantic moment with Nicola, his mom stepped onto the dance floor and took control of the moment. He said it left him embarrassed and exposed in front of the entire room. According to him, Nicola walked out in tears right after. And that moment didn't just create gossip. Many believe it was the spark that lit the entire feud on fire. People may remember details differently, but one thing stays consistent across every version of the story. That night shifted the whole dynamic between the two families. Witnesses say the energy flipped instantly. What started as a celebration filled with love suddenly split right down the middle. Instead of uniting two powerful families, that single moment created a crack that never healed. Even those who tried staying neutral admit the dance had nothing to do with choreography. It was about emotions, respect, and personal space. It wasn't just a mother and son misreading the moment. It became a silent clash over boundaries and authority. And for Nicola, that night seemed to mark the point of no return. Reports say she made her position clear once the wedding ended. According to insiders, Brooklyn was suddenly faced with a choice that no one would want to make. Keep the peace with his mom or stand firmly beside his wife. And from that day forward, everyone understood which direction he chose. It came down to one difficult decision, and Brooklyn aligned himself with Nicola without looking back. Since then, the distance between him and his family has only grown. Invitations have allegedly been declined. Family gatherings skipped. Any real communication cut off or filtered through other people. Insiders say Nicola has maintained her stance, choosing not to attend events where David and Victoria Beckham might be present. Whether someone interprets that as her protecting her peace or making a calculated power move depends entirely on their viewpoint, but the outcome is hard to overlook. Brooklyn Beckham, once the golden boy of one of the world's most famous families, now stands almost completely separated from the people who raised him. And while Nicola continues to stay in the center of the spotlight, the most powerful figure in this entire situation remains almost completely silent, watching everything play out from the background. Her father, Nelson Peltz, the billionaire investor and corporate strategist, operates in a world where influence and control are the currency. He plays the game on a level far above the usual family drama. Nelson is someone who values structure, planning, and long-term vision, and according to multiple reports, he was never completely impressed with Brooklyn. Insiders say Nelson quietly brushed off all of Brooklyn's career attempts, from photography to cooking to lifestyle branding, viewing them as scattered moves without a clear direction. He never attacked Brooklyn publicly. He didn't need to. His silence alone carried more weight than any harsh comment. And when a man with Nelson's wealth, reputation, and reach isn't fully convinced about you, it matters, especially when you're now connected to his world through marriage. But the detail that has everyone talking isn't just his opinion of Brooklyn. It's the prenuptial agreement signed before the wedding. According to those familiar with the arrangement, the terms were very strict. If the marriage ever ended, Brooklyn would not receive any part of the Peltz family fortune. Under that agreement, he'd only keep whatever he and Nicola built together from scratch. That clause didn't spark conversation because of money alone. It raised serious questions about control. People close to the situation say the agreement reflects something deeper than financial protection. It represents who truly holds the power within the marriage. And for many observers, that realization explains why Brooklyn's position feels so fragile. If Brooklyn's marriage ever collapsed, the fallout for him would be massive. After distancing himself from his own parents, he wouldn't just lose Nicola. He would lose the only support system he currently stands beside. No safety net, no financial leverage, no fallback. That is reportedly the fear that keeps David and Victoria awake at night. The idea that their son may have placed his entire future into the hands of people who might not have the same long-term loyalty he once had at home. For any parent, that kind of uncertainty is a heavy thing to carry. Insiders say that concern has followed them from the moment the family rift began. Still, despite all the pain and confusion, those close to the Beckhams insist the door is wide open for Brooklyn. David and Victoria would welcome him back instantly. No demands, no forced apology, no conditions attached, just a place for him to return to if he ever chooses. But Brooklyn has made his stance clear. He says he has no regrets. He believes he finally spoke his truth, and he feels completely justified in stepping away from his family. Meanwhile, the rest of the Beckham family keeps moving steadily. His siblings are doing well, their careers continue to rise, and the Beckham brand carries on like a machine that never slows down. But even with all that progress, there is still one empty space that nobody can ignore. Brooklyn. And now, voices from his past, people who knew him long before fame and long before Nicola, are stepping forward, questioning whether the freedom he claims to have found is actually freedom at all. What's being said now doesn't make anyone look good, and one of the most unexpected voices didn't come from entertainment or tabloids. It came from the football world. Brooklyn's former youth coach from his days at Queens Park Rangers finally spoke up, and his comments caught everyone off guard. He didn't choose a side, he didn't defend the Beckhams, and he didn't praise Brooklyn's recent choices either. Instead, he offered a perspective that made a lot of people pause. He described a childhood that looked glamorous on the outside, but was built on pressure, constant expectations, and emotional distance. According to the coach, Brooklyn grew up with full-time security at around age 14, always being watched, always being protected, but never experiencing any real sense of normal life. He said fame didn't bring calm or confidence. It only added pressure to appear perfect at all times. For the first time, people got a glimpse behind the polished image of the Beckham household, and the cracks suddenly felt more visible. The coach, who had worked with plenty of kids from well-known families, admitted that even he saw moments that felt unsettling. He didn't accuse anyone, but his message carried weight. Brooklyn's childhood wasn't typical, and that lack of normalcy made him vulnerable. Vulnerable to influence, vulnerable to pressure, vulnerable to believing that walking away from everyone was the only kind of protection he had left. And this is where the situation becomes truly uncomfortable. When you peel away the emotional arguments, one truth stands out. Nicola didn't step into Brooklyn's world. Brooklyn stepped completely into hers. She stayed close to her powerful family, kept her support system strong, and maintained full financial independence. Meanwhile, Brooklyn drifted further from everything he grew up around. The structure, the guidance, and the stability he once had slowly faded from his life. And the more he settled into the Peltz world, the more separated he became from the path he was raised on. He walked away from the safety net that came with being a Beckham and rooted his entire emotional world inside one household, the Peltz empire. That shift didn't just change his lifestyle, it completely rearranged the power dynamic in his life, and now people are wondering if he'll ever find his way back to a balanced place again. Inside the Peltz household is where the real imbalance sits, and that is what has so many people concerned. Not because anyone is a villain or because Brooklyn is weak, but because isolation changes everything. When one person or one powerful family becomes your entire emotional anchor, their influence grows even without them saying anything. That kind of quiet control can shape someone more strongly than any loud demand ever could. And through all this chaos, one person has stayed fully silent. Nelson Peltz. No denials, no statements, no attempts to publicly defend his son-in-law. Just complete silence. But anyone who understands Nelson knows silence is never accidental. It's part of his strategy. People familiar with his world describe him as sharp and straightforward, and not the type who gets swept up by fame or charm. Reports say Nelson views Brooklyn as talented but unfocused, a young man with potential but no clear path, still leaning on the Beckham name more than he realizes. And when a billionaire like Nelson forms an opinion like that, it doesn't just sit quietly. It influences everything inside the Peltz circle, shaping conversations and decisions behind closed doors. That perception might not be completely fair, but in powerful circles, perception is everything. And according to insiders, Nelson's doubts have only gotten stronger as Brooklyn's feud with his parents intensifies. Because in elite spaces, cutting ties with your own family doesn't read as independence. It reads as instability. It invites whispers, raises questions, and makes people wonder about judgment and loyalty. Behind the scenes, another factor is quietly driving the entire situation. Brooklyn's identity crisis when it comes to his career. Photography, cooking, lifestyle content, branding. Every few months there seems to be a new direction. And each shift triggers public side-eye and, reportedly, private concern inside the Peltz family. While David Beckham built his empire through consistency, discipline, and years of focus, Brooklyn's path looks more like experimentation with no clear destination. And that contrast keeps adding pressure to a situation already stacked with complications. Brooklyn's path has been full of trial and error, unfinished projects, and constant reinvention. To the outside world, it looks like he's still trying to figure out what truly defines him. And for a family like the Peltz clan, who value structure, order, and stability above everything else, that level of unpredictability creates tension. The contrast between the two families matters more than people realize. One side is built on legacy, endurance, and loyalty. The other runs on strategy, leverage, and results. When you mix those two worlds, friction isn't just possible, it becomes inevitable. Insiders say Nelson Peltz has never been fully convinced that Brooklyn brings enough to the table, not financially, not strategically, and not in terms of influence. To someone like Nelson, value is never just about emotion or appearance. It's tied to strength, positioning, and power. And that is where the imbalance becomes clear. But people close to David and Victoria Beckham say this shift in their son didn't happen suddenly. They claim it grew slowly, almost quietly. The decisions Brooklyn used to handle by himself started getting checked elsewhere. Conversations with him began to sound filtered, like every sentence had run through a second layer before it reached them. And where there used to be private family discussions, legal involvement slowly slipped in. And those close to the Beckhams insist that Brooklyn wasn't always like this. He didn't used to speak about his parents with distance. He didn't used to describe them as controlling or paint them as obstacles in his life. They say somewhere along the line, his tone changed, and the story he began telling about his upbringing shifted completely. Brooklyn strongly rejects that narrative and calls it false from beginning to end. But even with his denial, the timing raises questions. The closer he became to Nicola and her world, the further he seemed to drift from the structure he grew up in. And what makes this entire situation even more revealing is not just who is caught in the middle, but who is not. Brooklyn's siblings have stayed close to David and Victoria. They still share family photos, attend events, and show support without distancing themselves. Each of them has built their own identity while keeping their relationship steady. That difference has sparked endless speculation. Maybe this isn't a story about the Beckhams as a whole. Maybe the conflict is something personal to Brooklyn alone. And that leads to a question people keep whispering, but rarely say out loud. If the Beckham household was truly as controlling as Brooklyn claims, why was he the only one to step away completely and make that separation public? Some admire him for standing firm and speaking his truth. But those close to the situation say the emotional toll behind closed doors has been heavy, wearing him down in ways the public never sees. The distance between Brooklyn and his family has left marks that no spotlight can cover. No more casual check-ins, no relaxed Sunday meals, none of the small moments that used to hold a family together. Every interaction now feels formal, filtered, and managed like a negotiation. And once a relationship reaches that kind of place, rebuilding it isn't just hard. It becomes something close to impossible. Most celebrity family feuds eventually follow a familiar pattern. A shocking moment, a period of silence, and then a dramatic reunion that smooths everything over. But this situation refuses to follow that script. This feud isn't just emotional, it's structural. Two powerful families with different worlds, different rules, and different ideas of loyalty are involved, and one son is standing in the middle with nowhere to land. The longer this continues, the more it feels like the damage is not temporary. It feels lasting. That's what makes this situation so heavy. It's not about a disagreement or a scene at a wedding. It's about power, expectations, influence, and the kind of pressure that can redirect a person's entire life. And now the question that no one can ignore is simple but intense. What happens if Brooklyn ever wants to return to his family? Walking away feels strong when the emotions are high and the belief in your choices is solid. But returning requires something different. It demands humility, accountability, and forgiveness. And none of those qualities appear anywhere close right now. David and Victoria Beckham are reportedly still open to peace, still keeping space for their son if he wants it. But insiders say that same open door does not extend to everyone in this complicated situation. Even if Brooklyn wanted to reconnect tomorrow, the path back wouldn't be smooth. It wouldn't even be guaranteed. Too many words have been said, too many lines crossed, and now every possible step comes with weight. This leads to the real questions people keep whispering about. If Brooklyn ever changed his mind, would Nicola support that reunion? And the bigger question goes deeper. Would Nelson Peltz, the quiet force behind so much of this tension, even allow that kind of return from a strategic standpoint? Has this feud already gone beyond what can realistically be repaired? Right now, it feels like the Beckham family exists in two separate realities, moving further apart with every passing month. One part of the Beckham family keeps moving forward together, steady and connected, while the other stands completely apart, firm but isolated. Brooklyn continues to say he has no regrets, staying committed to the choice he made. Meanwhile, David and Victoria insist they will wait for him as long as they need to, no matter how long the silence stretches on. And through everything, Nicola Peltz remains the constant presence in his life, steady, central, and unchanged by the chaos around them. Whether she is fiercely protecting her marriage or quietly shaping the direction of this entire story depends on who you ask. But one thing is clear. Brooklyn Beckham's life has shifted in a way that feels permanent. The line between the world he left behind and the one he lives in now looks harder and harder to cross. And the possibility of a clean return feels more distant every day. This situation isn't just about fame, it's about power, loyalty, and the collision between love and legacy. It's the kind of story that leaves people choosing sides while wondering if the ending has already been written. If you want more deep dives and celebrity breakdowns like this, make sure to like the video, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who follows these stories. Tell us what you think about the Beckham and Peltz showdown below. New stories are coming fast, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's next.